as we continue on the Methodist Church of Southern Africa's campaign for the dignity of women and against violence to women. We join together as we read this morning from 2 Samuel chapter 13. We're going to read a large part of the chapter. It's a long chapter, but when you hear it, you will see that it is a narrative that all fits together, and we need to read it as a whole. 2 Samuel 13, verse 1. In the course of time, Amnon, son of David, fell in love with Tamar, the beautiful sister of Absalom, son of David. Amnon became so obsessed with his sister Tamar that he made himself ill. She was a virgin, and it seemed impossible for him to do anything to get her. Now Amnon had an advisor named Jonadab, son of Shimea, David's brother. Jonadab was a very shrewd man. He asked Amnon, "Why do you, the king's son, look so haggard morning after morning? Won't you tell me?" Amnon said to him, "I'm in love with Tamar, my brother Absalom's sister." "Go to bed and pretend to be ill," Jonadab said. "When your father comes to see you, say to him, 'I would like my sister Tamar to come and give me something to eat. Let her prepare food in my sight so that I may watch her and then eat it from her hand.'" So Amnon lay down and pretended to be ill. When the king came to see him, Amnon said to him, "I would like my sister Tamar to come and make some special bread in my sight so that I may eat from her hand." David sent word to Tamar at the palace, "Go to the house of your brother Amnon and prepare some food for him." So Tamar went to the house of her brother Amnon, who was lying down. She took some dough, kneaded it, made it into bread in his sight and baked it. Then she took the pan and served him the bread. But he refused to eat. "Send everyone out of here," Amnon said. So everyone left. Then Amnon said to Tamar, "Bring the food here to my bedroom, so that I may eat from your hand." And Tamar took the bread she had prepared and brought it to her brother Amnon in his bedroom. But when she took it to him to eat, he grabbed her and said, "Come to bed with me, my sister." "No, my brother," she said to him, "don't force me. Such a thing should not be done in Israel. Don't do this wicked thing." "What about me? Where could I get rid of my disgrace? And what about you? You would be like one of the wicked fools in Israel. Please speak to the king. He will not keep me from being married to you." But he refused to listen to her. And since he was stronger than she, he raped her. Then Amnon hated her with intense hatred. In fact, he hated her more than he had loved her. Amnon said to her, "Get up and go out." "No," she said to him, "sending me away would be a greater wrong than what you've already done to me." But he refused to listen to her. He called his personal servant and said, "Get this woman out of my sight and bolt the door after her." So his servant put her out and bolted the door after her. So she was wearing an ornate robe, for this was the kind of garment the virgin daughters of the king wore. Tamar put ashes on her head and tore the ornate robe she was wearing. She put her hands on her head and went away, weeping aloud as she went. Her brother Absalom said to her, "Has that Amnon your brother been with you?" "Be quiet now, my sister. He's your brother. Don't take this thing to heart." And Tamar lived in her brother Absalom's house, a desolate woman. When King David heard all of this, he was furious, and Absalom never said a word to Amnon, either good or bad. He hated Amnon because he had disgraced his sister Tamar. 2 years later, when Absalom's sheep shearers were at Bar Hazor, near the border of Ephraim, he invited all the king's sons to come there. Absalom went to the king and said, "Your servant has sheared, shearers come. Will the king and his attendants please join me?" "No, my son," the king replied. "All of us should not go. We would only be a burden to you." Although Absalom urged him, he still refused to go, but gave him his blessing. Then Absalom said, "If not, please let my brother Amnon come with me." The king answered him, "Why Why should he go with you? But Absalom urged him and so he sent him with Amnon and the rest of the king's sons. Absalom ordered his men, listen, when Amnon is in high spirits from drinking wine, and I say to you, strike Amnon down, then kill him. Don't be afraid. Haven't I given you this order? Be strong and brave. This far, we read from the second book of Samuel. Tragedy is maybe too light a word to use alone to describe this story. Maybe one needs to add words to the word tragedy. A disgrace, a travesty. A travesty is something that fails to represent the values that it says it represents in a way that is shocking and offensive, evil that masks itself as good. In the case of this narrative, lust, anger, evil intent that mask themselves as love. That's what happens still in too many homes today. The place that is supposed to be a haven where you are loved for who you are, the place where you should be allowed to be yourself, a place of love and safety, becomes a secret place of torture in so many homes. Amnon portrays it as love. For Jonadab, it's a game. For Tamar, it's devastation. A life-changing, heart-breaking injury inflicted by a member of her family. She's betrayed by her brother. How does she cope with it? The story gets worse, not better. Don't expect a happy ending here. This is real life. Many women who experience gender-based violence feel that their life will never be okay again. And for some, it just is so. The pain is so intense, so deep, that a healing balm just doesn't seem to be able to get to it. I've spoken to women raped by members of their family 20, 30 years ago. And as they tell that story, as an adult woman, they in the narrative become that broken girl again, and the pain in the present is as real as it was when it first happened. That Tamar acted like somebody has died, torn robe, ashes on their head, is not a strange thing. It's like someone who's died. Well, yes, someone has died. Perpetrator. Don't you think you are clever when you know exactly where to inflict injury on a woman's body so that nobody else will recognize it? Don't think that raping a woman means nothing because she's able to stand up and walk. You have killed something in her and she will never be the same. What makes it worse is the secrecy of the thing. Whether it's a father raping his daughter saying it's our little secret, or a boyfriend who acts all nice and kind and generous in front of others, but back home is possessive, punishing and cruel. And when they leave the home pretends that all is well. Or whether it is a stranger that rapes and says, if you tell anybody, I will kill you. That shame, that secrecy just gets worse and worse because the woman feels she can tell no one, the girl feels she can tell no one. She begins to believe the lie that it's her own fault until it gets to the stage when a body is found. This thing is most often shrouded in secrecy. Too often, the survivor feels that she needs to protect others from what happened to her. Not wanting to shock her mother, not wanting to repel a partner in life later on. Tamar didn't go and tell her father. She kept the secret. She took on the burden of the evil that was done to her. Listen to women talk, and you'll hear them say it. It was my fault. I suppose I deserved it. Well, yes, I didn't clean the dishes as well as I should have. He won't do it again. Surely he won't do it again. Please drop the charges. According to the Namibian police, in 2019, there were 7,127 cases of gender-based violence reported. 7,127. 2,595 were withdrawn. About a third, more than a third, were withdrawn by the women. Tamar's story continues. The secret continues. The depth of pain, the secrecy factor, the shame factor, together with the need that the woman feels to protect others, makes for a condition that just gets worse over time. For many, the memory of pain becomes debilitating. It becomes a disability of self-worth and of healthy relationships. In all of this, what does Tamar's father say? Surely, David always has something to say. What does he do? How does he help his daughter? What does he do to his son? How does he confront him? Not a word. Nothing. Silence covers up the sin. It gives the perpetrator permission to continue or repeat what he's doing. It's not that nobody cared. Listen to the story. Absalom cared, their brother, but he had no insight. You see what happens when she comes out of Amnon's room and Absalom sees her. He says to her, my sister, just keep quiet and don't take it to heart. Nothing's changed, has it? Just keep quiet, don't take it to heart. Crazy advice. It's not that he didn't care, he just didn't know how to deal with it. And so silence was the only option in his mind, and his anger continued to grow against his brother. His anger was not a redemptive anger. It was a smoldering anger. It was a destructive, murderous anger. Violence brought violence. We should be angry. We must be angry. The women on the Durban beachfront the other day, did you see them? I was not surprised by the posters of their contempt, their posters of their blatant anger. I was not surprised at their contempt at regulations that tried to make them not breathe air with viruses that the police were so concerned about. Where is the police when they report a rape? When there seems to be case after case of men who will be able to do just what they want to do with no consequences. Be angry. Please be angry, but don't let your anger get out of control. Let your anger help you to speak up when something is wrong, to help when somebody cries for help, to challenge our norms, to challenge the way our society thinks. Let your anger help you to teach your children how to think about gender relationships, to object when you see injustice. Please, please, let us not raise little Jonadabs in our homes who think they're the king of the castle. The girls must do his bidding. He speaks, they must listen. Don't raise little Jonadabs who think they can play games with girls that hurt and destroy because they learned that women and girls are nothing. Let us teach boys to respect, to treat everyone, every girl, every woman in an honorable way. Please not raise little Amnons who do what they want to do at the expense of the next person, with no consideration for the next person's human dignity. Someone has called it toxic masculinity. We need to role model respectful, loving relationships at home. We need to take time to talk about the way that society frames male and female relationships, to talk about power relationships with our children, to teach our boy children not to just do what other men do, or to do what the movies show, or to do what other boys say they do. Let us teach our boy children to treat girls the way that our Lord Jesus Christ treated every single woman he met. Do you notice that the story of Tamar is overtaken by the story of men? What happens to her? How is she doing 3 years later? Does she find healing? Does she marry? We don't really know. It seems not, because the only thing Samuel says about her is she becomes a desolate woman living with her brother. The valiant escapades of Absalom takes over the story. The woman's voice is silent. She has feelings. She has a story. Please God, she should have a future. But we don't know, because men are telling the story, and it turns into Absalom's pursuits, and Tamar is lost in the story. As lost as Naledi Pangindawo and Sibongiseni Kabada, as lost as Liabona Mabishi, and Alicia and Rainisha Koche, and Chekofatse Pule, and Pindi Nkrumah, and in Namibia, 17-year-old Magdalena Stoffels, a 9-year-old Avihe Cheryl Ujaha in Karatura, or the 167 cases of gender-based violence recorded in the Windhoek region during the month of March this year. The story has no happy ending. The family is shattered. No one is okay. One crime eats up the whole family. That's the way it goes. It's a pandemic that targets a woman or a girl. But the effect is even worse than a devastation of one person. Families are left in tatters, communities fall into decay. You think you shout at your wife and you deprive her of respect only when the children have gone to bed and they can't hear you. You're lying to yourself. You are destroying your family. You are creating little images of yourself who will do just what you do. And worse, for every incident that takes place in the dark, or every incident that makes it to the news, or every story that goes viral as nations, we are losing our humanity. We pride ourselves that we have made such strides in technology and biology and space exploration and curing of illness. May we as desperately seek to be a people of moral integrity, nations that are desperate to find our way out of the quicksand that is sucking us into a spiral of violence against women and girls, societies that can find a way through that quicksand to dignity and humanity and respect. May we become men and women who become fearless agents of change. Amen.